Hi everyone, and welcome back to How to Digital History. In this episode, we're going to talk about Google's Translator Toolkit. Translator Toolkit is actually a very popular program within a particular cross-segment of society. Anybody doing professional translation are definitely familiar with it. It is essentially a translating environment program, and these types of programs have been around for a while. They've become smarter almost every year that passes. They become a little bit better. Google's program has come a long way in a very short time. It was actually first started in 2009. And so now in 2015, the program has come actually a long way. We can look at the languages that it accepts. When it first began in 2009, it could only use English as the source language for translation, meaning that you could only import English language documents into the translator toolkit, and these could then only be translated from English to roughly 30 or 40 different languages. At this point, there's over 300 languages supported by the translator toolkit, and out of these 300, they are all interchangeable, meaning you can translate from Choctaw to English or English to Choctaw. It is very similar in many ways to Google Translate, the more popular translation app used by Google. Um, but this is actually more of a tool to help people do long form translations, and it's actually a very good one. But the toolkit is, but to my surprise, I've been using it now for about 3 years, and I found that almost no one in the field of history uses it, or even knows much about it. And the reason for this is because it's not really a program designed for non-translators, meaning it was originally intended to be a program for people who make a living translating documents. Of course, historians in my field of Atlantic history, as well as in all sorts of fields out there, often have use of translation. I just came back from France, and you know all the documents I brought back from France are, of course, in French, and therefore I have to translate them. And so this is the program that I'm using. The Google Translator looks like this. It's very simple. You might recognize some of the basics of the interface as sort of classic Google, the color scheme and everything. And it works simply by allowing you to upload a file, and then it provides you a machine translation of the file, but it's a machine translation that you can then edit. I'll give you an example of this. We have one here, the Proclama de los 10 Mandamientos, which is a document related to Puerto Rican history. And if we open this, see, it's a very short document, and on the left side, what we have is the original document itself, the original text in Spanish of the document. And as I click on different parts of this text, what you might notice is that there is a highlight effect that happens. Now, for the most part, it will highlight sentence by sentence. It seems to be keyed to the period at the end of the sentence. So, for instance, in this case, it goes all the way into 2 lines up to the period. However, in this first part of this sentence, it stops at the contraction or the abbreviation of the title of Doña, which then has a period because it is an abbreviated title, not because it's the end of the sentence. And so you do have to be careful you have to know that the period means sort of stop for the translation. It also acknowledges formatting to some extent. And so in this case, because there's a carriage return, it knows that it's a separate line for each one of these. Now, why would this be sort of interesting for the historian? And the reason is because on the right side, we get this machine translation. So the machine translation in this case appears in red. So we have it here, machine translation, and it's given us a translation. And so in this case, proclamation of the Ten Commandments of Free Man. So I can say, okay, yes, that's a good translation, and I can hit next to move on to the next one. Puerto Ricans, Puertorriqueños. I can see that that is the correct translation, and then I can hit next, right? Now in this case, we have this problem, right? Google Translator Toolkit thinks that this is a full sentence. The government of Lady. Now, in fact, I have already edited this, and so it shows it here. It tells me that this is an edited line. So what I did in this case is I, in fact, put in the word lady to correct it, and then I removed the period so that, and you see the next line is also edited. Isabella II lanza sobre nosotros una terrible acusación. And so I have translated that and made sure that that translation is exactly how it's supposed to be. Isabel II launches upon us a terrible accusation. Now notice that I do not have a period at the end of that. And so as we go line by line, Google Translator Toolkit allows us to edit line by line to make sure that this is correct. Now, of course, this is a very small and simple document, and one that is very easy to work with. If we, for example, let's go back to our dashboard of the toolkit itself, you'll notice that for that document, Proclama de los 10 Mandamientos, it shows that it's 100% complete. So I know, okay, this is a document that I have already edited 100% through. It tells me how many words are in the document. This is particularly important if you're doing translation for a fee. Professional translators and interpreters typically charge per word. Not always. Sometimes it's per work or per difficulty of the language or the obscurity of a language. However, typical for most of the popular modern languages, a per word fee is usually used. And so this program is primarily geared at these professional translators who would be, in fact, very interested to know the exact word length of the documents that they are translating. In the case of this other document, Patria, this is a much longer document with much more information, and as you can see, I've barely worked through the translation. It's almost all in red. Now that could be because I thought it was fine. It could be because I just haven't gone through it. The fact that it tells me that only 7% of the document is complete tells me that I have not actually read through the entire thing. So let's go through the whole process here. So let me upload a document. I was just looking at the Dominican Constitution of 1844. So this is the Constitution. This is the Constitution that was ratified by the leaders of the Dominican Revolution in 1844 after the withdrawal of the Haitian troops from the eastern side of Hispaniola. And in this case, this document is in PDF format. And that's sort of a problem because the Google Translator has a very sort of short list of documents it will accept. If we look here on the screen, we have it will accept HTML files, Microsoft Doc and DocX files, ODT documents, that's a open document text, so this makes it very compatible with OpenOffice as well as StarOffice and some of the other sort of open source Microsoft Office clones that are available. It will accept plain text, which I think it should, as well as RTF. But you'll notice that there is no PDF anywhere among these instructions. That could be a licensing issue. I find it really interesting that it will not accept PDFs, given that Google Docs will in fact read PDFs and will accept PDFs and will in fact convert from PDF to a Word-like, or in that case Google Doc-like document, and vice versa. It will convert docs into PDFs, but the Translator Toolkit does not. So since I am looking at a document which is originally in PDF format, I will have to open that document up in Acrobat Professional. You may not have this, but if you do run into a PDF document, this is basically what you'd like to do. In this case, this document is already OCR'd. It already has the optical character recognition provided for it, so we don't have to worry about actually doing the OCR. We don't have to worry about running it through the OCR software to read the document. In this case, we just have to convert this PDF to a Word document or rich text format or an HTML format or a text format. We can even do a plain text. Now, there's usually some information loss, not actual textual information, but usually formatting information, and that loss doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for Google Translate. Google Translate doesn't care about the style or the format in which the words are in. It does care about things like carriage returns, paragraph marks, if you will, within the document. It does care about periods within the document, but it doesn't actually care about the style or the font or anything like that. So converting a PDF to a text format is not a problem. In this case, I've converted to Word, and sure enough, I've lost some formatting here at the top. It's gone from this centered format to this loss of formatting. We also see a loss of formatting down here in the articles. Again, this is not a problem, and this will happen. It's just what happens when you convert. So in this case, let me go back to the toolkit. If I say I want to upload, okay, let's say I want to upload, just to show you what happens. Let's upload the PDF of the Dominican Constitution of 1844. So we're going to say open, and it's showing me here. It's asking me to give it a name or to change it. It wants to know what language I want to translate into. And as you can see, I have a lot of options here. So what language do I want to translate into? I want to translate this into English. English is not the standard because it assumes that you're translating always from English. In this case, it has noticed that I am using Spanish in my other documents, and so it has read that the Spanish is in fact that the document is in Spanish, and therefore it's giving me the option. So I will keep it there. I don't know if there is a Dominican. Oh, there is Spanish Dominican Republic and Constitución Dominicana. Okay. And I want to go to English, which is not one of the standard ones. But then here we have regular English, which we can assume it's American or generic or an aggregate of all the English possibles. Then we have Australian, Canadian, Indian, Irish, Singaporese, Singapore. Oh, I gotta look that up. South African and UK British English. So in this case, we just choose regular vanilla English, click next, and it will not allow us to do it. There it is. Sorry, we do not currently support this type of file. Please check our supported file types in our help center and try again. We can look at the help center. In fact, it says exactly what that page says. Word documents, OpenOffice, RTF, HTML text, Wikipedia articles, and nulls. Don't worry about nulls. Nobody uses nulls. So let's go back here to our translator, and we are going to upload a different file. This time we're going to upload the Word file itself. I also have a text version of it, which is just plain text. And of course, this is what the plain text looks like. We've lost almost all formatting other than capitalization. Essentially, every other form, capitalization and carriage returns, pretty much everything else is lost in that. And here we have the Word document itself, and in this case, it is rendering it quite interestingly. But it doesn't matter. We will open that Word document, and it saved our option to English. We are going to hit next, and it is uploading. as it uploads, usually text files, Word files, will upload very quickly. In this case, it's actually analyzing the text. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Selected translation vendor. Okay, so this is a new functionality. I had never seen this before. Now, originally the toolkit was intended to be used by professional translating agencies, and it was a large project, much larger than what it is right now, called the Google Translation Center. And this was going to be sort of revolutionize the world of document translation. It didn't quite pan out this way. There seems to be a functionality which I'd never seen before. Maybe it's been a little while since I've used the service, but it seems to be that in the event that there are vendors available to translate from Dominican Spanish to English, that it would actually suggest these vendors for me to hire, I guess. Dominican Spanish is not that obscure. There should be vendors, unless there are no vendors. In any case, we can just say no thanks. I'll translate myself or invite friends for help. That's perfect. So we say no thanks. And so here is our Constitución Dominicana 1844. We can see that it's got 9,714 words, and that it has been machine translated into English. So let's take a look at that machine translation. And here it is. So the machine translation again is going through here, Dios, Patria y Libertad, God, Fatherland, and Freedom. I think fatherland gives the different connotation in English than it does in Spanish. So I might want to look into that. We can move on to República Dominicana. It's translated correctly to the Dominican Republic. Moving on. There might be a better way to say this. The author and supreme ruler of the universe. Supreme ruler might not be the word I want to use for Supremo Legislador. Legislador means legislator or lawgiver. It would be a more literal translation. So in this case, I think I would change that to lawgiver. Just one that I feel better represents what I think, my interpretation of the document. And then I move on. And as you can see, as soon as I made that change, it changed the label to edited from machine translation. And that lets me know, and it also changes the color here. It's provided a light orange color. I would also I'd like to go back to this, and I can see here that although it's giving me this constant capitalization of the nouns across, it doesn't do it for the last word, universe. And so I think that would be more even and more in keeping with the style of full capitalization. So I might want to change that to full capitalization, but for now I'd be content just having each one capitalized, each noun at least capitalized. And so we go on and on and on. And so if I save it right here, right now, we're going to say complete. I'm going to say save, and then complete. It says this document is only 0% translated. Are you sure you want to complete? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to cancel. Now, if I go back here to the toolkit, this one, we can see that nothing has changed. It does not show the translation, and that's because it hasn't reached 1%. So maybe just for the sake of this, here we have the preamble, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add a couple spaces there, and political constitution, yes, that's fine. The Dominican Republic, see, okay, here we have Constitución Política, and here political constitution de Dominican Republic. This would be of the Dominican Republic. Of the Dominican Republic. And moving on. And so now I have the 1% complete here at the top. And so that's what I want, because I want to see what it shows me. So I'm going to say complete. I'm going to say OK. And saving the translation marked complete. Now, if you'll notice, and it's a subtle change, but because I hit complete, then it gave me 100% complete. And again, this can be a problem if you are relying on this percentage. What I should have done is just simply saved complete, and I could have just, clicked save, and I could have just simply moved away from this page. I could have closed it and gone back to here. If I refresh this, for example, it'll show 100% complete for the Constitución Dominicana 1844, which we know is not true. We know that this is not complete. I've only done 3-4 lines of any kind of translation. I can also use the dashboard itself, and by clicking the sort of these option buttons at the on the edge of each document, I can then tell it that yes, I want to either request a professional translation, which we know none of us have the money for that, or I can share it with whoever I want to share it with. And I can delete the documents. In this case, I will do that. I'm going to delete these 2 documents, and it deletes them away. And that is the Google Translator Toolkit. Once you have the toolkit, once you have a file that you like, so let's say, for example, this file right here, I can then download that translation and save it and use it. I can copy and paste it directly from here. Copy and use it wherever I want. But ultimately, this program allows for so much flexibility in translation work that I recommend it wholeheartedly for anybody out there who finds themselves sort of in this situation. And I recommend it with the one caveat that this does not replace actual translation. Much like Google Translate, the machine translation that the toolkit provides is not 100%. They never claim it to be 100%, and you're not supposed to use it as 100% translation. But as a fluent speaker of Spanish and a fluent speaker of English, to be able to drop a document in Spanish and translate it directly to English, where then I can then just edit the text, that saves me hours of work. And I think it can save you hours of work too. So I hope you like the program. I hope you have a chance to try it. I'll have a link to the toolkit under this video, and check out my website, michaeldelis.com. Subscribe and like this video if you found it helpful, and see you in the next tutorial.